Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining us. So, sometimes I get pretty down. I get a little hopeless about the state of Indiana. I'm worried about our public education being defunded and just our government doing things that hurt all of us in this state. And when I get down, I can think of people like Josh Lowry, our guest today. Josh is an actual real life Hoosier hero fighting for us. And people in Southern Indiana might not know about him, but people in his area definitely know. I've been following him for a couple years on social media, and this is the first time we got to talk. And I'm fangirling a little bit. So, who is Josh Lowry? Why is he a real life badass hero fighting for us in Indiana? And how can we join him in this fight and get our state better? Okay, Josh, thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Can you tell us a couple things about you? I know I started out, I put in here that you're a former pro wrestler. That's pretty cool. You're a lawyer, you're a foster dad, you're heavily involved in your local Democratic Party and the state Democratic Party. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself? Because it's pretty cool.
Yeah, so the thing that always catches everyone's eye is the former pro wrestler thing. It's as simple as growing up, I loved pro wrestling, and that's the only thing I wanted to do when I grow up. So when I graduated college, I moved down. So actually, in Louisville, they used to have Ohio Valley Wrestling, which was the developmental school for the WWE. And so I moved down to New Albany and would drive over there every day, and we would train, and it was a blast. And so I did that for a couple years before I moved back to Westfield, which is where my wife is from, and that led to all the stuff with the politics. But the pro wrestling's always the eye catcher. Actually, so my boss, I found this out. I didn't know this was even happening. One of the people I work with was like, "Hey, I saw one of your matches," and I was like, "Where did you see one of my matches on?" Because there are some on YouTube from like 20 years ago. And she was like, "Oh, they showed us an onboarding," and I was like, "What?" And my boss had been just showing people when they get hired at the firm, like, "Hey, do you know we used to have a pro wrestler?" But she didn't even tell me that she was doing that. So like, this wasn't like a prank on me or anything, and it just turns out a bunch of people have been watching my matches.
So you all can YouTube them. I told my husband who likes pro wrestling. He thought that was very cool, so he wants to now look you up. So that's funny. Yeah, so that's pretty cool. And it's New Albany. New Albany is very close to me. I grew up in New Albany, and then Floyd Knobs, and now Harrison County. So very close to us. That's cool. And then you're a lawyer
Yes,
now. Are you practicing now?
I am. Yes,
Wow.
yep.
I don't know how you do all you do. And then you're a foster dad. I think you're. Can you explain that?
Yeah. So my wife Alexis and I, and people that follow some Hamilton County politics, has probably seen Alexis before. She ran for city council in Westfield,
That's
and
awesome.
by the way, is only 23 votes away from being the first Democrat elected in Westfield.
Wow.
So
So close.
uh, we weren't able to have kids of our own, and so we ended up doing the foster to adopt program. And I think initially our thought was we were just going to adopt like a couple of young kids, but once we started, we just never stopped. And there's especially a big need for teenagers. Not it's very none of it's easy, right? But it's easier to place a young child with someone who feels like they can raise them, from the beginning. But we've adopted three teenage girls, and that's been, it's been the best part of my life. Being a dad, I love it. I love being a husband, a dad. Like, all of this is just a blast, and so it gives the kids a home. It lets me do dad stuff. But I will say the one thing about adopting teenagers is it makes you feel old quickly. It's like my daughter is going to IU in the fall,
Oh, wow.
oldest, and none of my other friends have kids in college. And so it's like, oh, this I'm not old enough to have a kid in college, but
I think you're 3 or 4 years younger than me. I'm 44. Are you around 40?
I just turned 40 last year. Yeah.
Yeah, my oldest is a ninth grader.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what I'm saying is
Yeah.
especially if you ever see the statistics, the people that go to college, they don't have kids until they're like 30 something,
Right.
right?
Right.
And so this would have been effectively having a kid at They're 22, I guess. So
Yeah, we have kids older now. Yeah, and about 20% of people struggle to have children. I'm one of those. It doesn't look like it because I have 3 children, but I didn't. There was a time where I didn't think I was going to be able to have children. Um, and then I taught fifth grade, fourth, fifth, and sixth grade for 18 years, and I've taught kids that were in the foster care system and that eventually got adopted. And the foster care system is complex because I have seen kids that I've seen adults, I've met adults that have basically graduated out of the foster care system. And a few times they had good foster care parents, and other times they had abusive ones because the government gives money for foster care, and there's not always the best system evaluation to make sure they're good ones. So it warms my heart that you went through that system and foster care and then adopted. But are you aware of that there's some cracks in the system?
oh sure. I think, look, you can do all the tests you want in interviews of someone. No one's like going to admit that they abuse their kids, right? And so a lot of times I think DCS is doing the best they can, but it's not like there's ever going to be any proof until there's proof, right?
Right.
Um, and also when there's such a shortage,
Hmm.
a need, we also have I don't know if we still do. I know at one point Indiana had the highest number of kids per capita in the foster system.
Oh, wow.
And so like it was overloaded, and especially like with the opioid crisis hit Indiana really hard. So you had a lot of kids going into the system, but I guess the one thing for like anybody out there that would consider it is to know it is hard, but there's also a lot of success stories. I think a lot of times we hear about the worst case scenarios because they are tragic, right? And it is,
Hmm.
but I can also tell you, we've adopted 5 kids that have been through trauma and have their own issues, and I've loved every minute of it. And they're working through everything, and we're working through it with them. And at the end of the day, I guess I don't know this for a fact, but I don't feel like I feel any different about the kids that we've adopted than you feel about the 3 that you had. You know what I mean?
Right. Oh, yeah, definitely.
Those are my kids.
Hmm.
And for anyone that's willing to foster, it is the most fulfilling thing in the world to know that you have, I mean, you saved a life, right? Like it's kids that age out of the foster system, they struggle. They really do. They insanely high rates of incarceration, but like who wouldn't when you have no parental figure to guide them? So yeah, there are cracks, but I would suggest anyone that's open to it, consider it, because we need more good parents to do it.
And if someone's interested, where do they start? Did they just look up fostering in Indiana online? Is there a place to go to get started?
So here's what I actually would recommend to anyone. You can like go, okay, so here's my dog Ollie. He's decided to make his first appearance.
Oh, a
Maybe
cutie pie.
Ollie, you want to stop? He'll jump up here in a second. It's like he has a need for attention, and he realizes whenever I'm on.
That's cute.
Most foster parents go straight through DCS. We actually went through a nonprofit organization called Interact Family Services, and there are other ones like this where they're like an extra step basically, and you have a case manager assigned to you as a parent. And that has been great. Like for us, our case manager, his name's Charles. He's basically a part of the family. Like literally last night, he and I sat together and we watched my daughter's track meet. Uh,
Aw.
and so we always had that person that was looking out for us in addition to, the DCS and the courts and everything. And I would recommend that for anyone that wants to be a
So
foster.
that's fantastic that there's nonprofits in Indiana. What was the name of that one again?
So it's Interact Family Services.
Okay. So, yeah, if you're thinking of this is a great need we have in Indiana, and what a wonderful way to help our community. What better way to help a child basically save their life, give them a chance to thrive. And like they need love. I
Yeah.
mean, they need love, they need unconditional love. I'm sure it's a transition when they come because they don't trust you. They don't think they're going to, maybe they don't think they're going to get that from you. They've never had it before. And so I'm sure it takes a lot of just loving them and explaining to them no matter what, you're going to care about them and take care of them, and they don't have to be perfect. And I just think that's really beautiful. Brian Zimmerman is the Special Forces veteran,
Mhm.
and he does shows with us, and he was adopted by the Zimmerman family, and they have the Zimmerman art glass business in Corden, and they saved his life. And he also was in special forces for almost 19 years, served in 2 wars. He's an American hero, and it's really beautiful to hear that these people saw him, loved him, invited him in. They already had kids. They just, had included another one. So it really does literally save lives and make Indiana better, because you're giving these great humans a chance at life. So thanks for doing that. I think that's very incredible of you and your wife. And I also think that's part of what is giving you this drive. You have a huge amount of energy and effort and time that you donate to making Indiana better. Can you tell us a little bit about the things that you have been doing for the last few years and when you got involved? Because I don't know exactly when you started.
Yeah, so overall I had got involved after Trump got elected, right? Like I was one of those many people that had always paid attention to politics, but had never gotten off the couch to do anything. And I started getting involved and helped out on some different campaigns here in Hamilton County. And the big thing though was specific. I can remember the exact moment. So in 2022, Roe versus Wade got overturned. I had not ran for office. I mean, this was already past the primary of that year. And I couldn't believe it, because our two oldest daughters, we actually adopted them from Pennsylvania. They were in the foster system in Pennsylvania. So they come here, and now Roe versus Wade gets overturned. And I'm like, oh my God, I brought them to a place where they have less rights than they did. And I was like, your rights shouldn't matter by what state you live in. Like, a right is a right. So I went to the then Hamilton County chair, Dana Colbert, which I just found out last night. By the way, I've been mispronouncing her name for like 3 years. Colbert, you pronounce the T. But I was just like, what do you need? What is there? And we caucused me in to run for state senate, and it left me hopeful, even though like I didn't make much of a difference because we didn't have money or time or anything.
Is Hamilton County where Carmel is?
Yeah, it
Okay.
is.
So, and
So
it's still Republican area, but just a little bit?
yeah, so like overall, Hamilton County voted 46% Democrat this last year. Um, we have a couple places where we're losing by 23 votes, 60 votes. I mean, we're
Wow.
like right there. And that's it's kind of ironic that we have such a winner take all system, because the seats held in Hamilton County, I mean, it's probably 95% Republican, but they're only getting, 52 to 53% of the vote. But that's the way it is. So,
In Harrison County, where I am from, it's about 70% Republican voters to 30% Democrat. So we have more of a battle. You're so close up there. It's pretty remarkable that in 2 years or a year and a half, there can be some change in your county.
yeah.
Yeah. So you ran for state senate, didn't win. Then what happened?
So then I got really involved with our local party, and I ended up running for the state House of Representatives last year. And even though I guess surprisingly, unsurprisingly, I can't decide. Had a red wave last year. My district actually moved like 5 points bluer. So
Oh,
we're definitely making progress. And then after that was over, I wanted to stay involved. I wanted something I could do to help, because I truly believe not just in the democratic policies, like especially economically, like one side is fighting for people's rights and one side isn't. And so I knew I just had to stay involved. The county chair didn't want to run again, and so I did it, and here I am.
So now you're chair of Hamilton County, which I would say is one of the biggest Democratic counties in the state. Like, how many people came to the election meeting where the precincts elected the chair? Because I think I saw something and it was like a few hundred people, I think, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was over 200 and some. We just had a meeting, like our monthly meeting the other night had over, I guess this is March, but still it was like 160 some people.
Wow.
Fishers is one of our four major cities. They have over 100 people at every Democrats meeting. There's a lot, and that's the thing is there has been. I mean, this used to be called the reddest county in America.
Wow.
The idea that we're where we're at now is unbelievable, and there's so many people that have been here a long time that just don't believe it though. Like we don't even know what the actual split is because we still have like a quarter of the voter population that doesn't vote here.
Right.
And we have high turnout compared to the rest of the state, right?
Yeah.
But we just hear over and over again, I don't vote because I feel like there's not enough of us that my vote doesn't matter. So it's almost like we don't even know. Maybe it's exactly right and the people that aren't voting are split the same way, Republican and Democrat, but I highly doubt that.
I really think in this last election, a lot of Democrats in Indiana did not turn out. And I understand why they didn't. They didn't feel heard. They didn't feel like they had a chance. Also, I feel like there's too much emphasis on national politics, even though what happens at the state level impacts our lives that live in Indiana more than what happens in DC. When I went out and talked to about 125 voters the day of the election at Corden High School, and no, not a single voter knew who I was. I don't know if anybody knew about Jennifer McCormick. They didn't know Tim Peck for Congress. They just knew to go vote for the president. And that's when I got this sense of dread. Oh no. Because like we were all kind of pumped up about the early vote, but the day of the vote, that's when I realized most voters don't know about state issues. And I am having a hard time explaining that to people because we're in a political bubble and we all know a lot about what's going on. But I'm telling you, my neighbors in Palmyra and in Harrison County, the majority of them have no idea that the people they've elected to state house, Karen Engelman, and state senate, Gary Byrne, are voting to take away our public education, take away as much money as possible. They support taking away women's rights, which we've done. Most people don't know that. When I talk to young women at high school, and I tell them, you know, you've lost your right to health care. They're like, what are you talking about? We think most people know, and I'm telling you, I think a majority of people do not know. What do you think about that?
There's literally studies on this. Most Americans can't name both their US senators. And when you start getting down to the state level, you're talking about less than 1 in 10 knows. And this is not me being, trying to be condescending to voters. This is what's backed up by it, right? Like, I'll be honest, when I ran, often I would have to explain to people that there even was a state General Assembly, right? Like they only knew of Congress and the General Assembly. Now, some of that is intentional, right? The Republicans intentionally try to nationalize things.
Yes.
Which I think sometimes if we're going to be involved in politics, we need to understand that like nobody wants to play politics, but it's literally called politics for a reason, right? Like what the Republicans did, there was some strategy. It was smart, right? They took away the value basically of the candidate. The candidate's irrelevant, right?
Right. It doesn't, as long as they got the R by their name, they vote for him.
So when I was running, I was going pretty hard after my opponent, Hunter Smith, because he's got some wild views. And at the General Assembly, he did exactly what I thought. He got up and testified that essentially any Democrat that runs for school board wants to put filth in front of your kids is the word I think he used, right? Like that's the way he sees Democrats. He thinks we're dirty and evil. That's half of the country, and he doesn't respect them at all. So what happened was when I was running, I would call him out on stuff like that. I think from everything I've heard, he just got annoyed at the fact that I'd actually talk about him, and he quit campaigning. That was the smartest thing he could have done, right? Because he
Yeah.
has baseline here, and the only way they get below is when they say crazy shit. Sorry, I don't know if this is.
That's fine. You're fine.
And he's not going to drop if he doesn't say anything, right? And so that's the thing, is like, it's been nationalized on one side, and then we're trying to localize it, but you realize a lot of people don't even know about the local effects.
Right.
I mean, the perfect example is the COVID shutdown, right? Like, how many people have you heard that talk about Democrats that shut down the economy? Democrats shut our schools down. Democrats had nothing to do with that in Indiana. That was Republicans.
Right.
The Republicans controlled the General Assembly. They controlled our Supreme Court. They controlled our governor's seat. Like, that had nothing to do with Democrats. And yet we get the blame because of what happened at the federal level. Although actually Trump was the president at the time. But the point is, I feel like the old saying, all politics is local, it's the exact opposite now.
Yeah.
All politics is national.
I feel like it's very frustrating because a lot of Republicans are wonderful people in Indiana. They're great people.
Yeah.
They're human beings, and most human beings are good. It's the people that have been elected. These people are doing terrible things, and they're lying about it. That's what upsets me. They don't tell the truth to their voters, and their voters just believe them. So the voters keep thinking they're voting the right people in, but they're being lied to, or they have no idea what's happening. And that's intentional. And they want it to stay national and focus on national fear things. And it's just so frustrating because they're throwing out so many lies. It's like, where do we start? Where do we go? And like, I tried to just focus on a few of them. Like, there aren't litter boxes in schools, and teachers are not trying to teach about trans issues in the classroom. That those are just easy fears that I was seeing in my county. And then I found out some not great school board members at my kid's school actually said it at a meeting.
Yeah.
And so it's like, wow, it's so hard to fight all of the fake lies they've told. And we can do it if we all work together and we all are not afraid to talk to our neighbors and our friends and get out in the community. But online, they've been pumping out this narrative that we should fear our neighbors. We shouldn't talk to them because they vote differently than us. And that's why I started Project Next with Tim Peck, to try to explain, no, you all, most people are good. It's not their fault they're being lied to. We should be mad at the people pumping out the fake propaganda, not the people listening to it and believing it. You know, we all believe things that are fake sometimes in our lives. We can't say that person's terrible, because then you got to say, well, I'm terrible. I thought things that were wrong. It's just, it's hard right now with what the state government has been doing to us. And it's so much, it's hard to follow. Like, I look at Mad Voters, I'm sure you do, to try to track stuff. But I'm glad that you're fighting for us. And I kind of want to know, what's your plan? Your chair of your party that's huge. You know, we're lucky if we get 30 people at our meetings. You're getting hundreds. That's amazing. How do you want to lead us? Because I look to you as one of Indiana's biggest Democratic leaders, and I'm so thankful you're doing what you're doing. What should we do?
So we have to meet voters where they're at for them to hear us. And I think that phrase, while correct, has been misconstrued over the last however long. I think people think that means that they need to change their policies and their positions to match what the voter thinks. You're supposed to represent your voters, right? Most voters will tell you they don't have that big of an opinion on a lot of issues until they hear about it, they learn about it, and someone explains things, right? And so the idea that there's this, like, I think people think there's this like middle of the road voter, like there's some sort of magical voter that's like, I am neutral on all issues and I will vote for the person that talks to me. And so then Democrats, I'm trying to get this right because this is my left, but you're right. So
It is confusing.
Democrats come from the left and are trying to like say, hey, look, we are non-offensive. We love everybody, which is good, but we're neutral about everything too. Nobody's good, nobody's bad. And then the Republicans come in like the Kool-Aid man kicking the door down, like, oh yeah, racism. And like they're just angry, and yet that's been drawing the voter, right? And I think what people miss about this is a moderate person means they could go either way. They haven't really made their mind up. You can talk to them about an issue and possibly convince them. And honestly, a lot of them are probably already on your side. But the Republicans will, not all Republicans, it's a very small few. There's a bunch of grifters at the top that will lie about anything.
Right.
And so to me, that is the overall goal. We have to meet the voters where they're at. And that means we have to be on social media. We have to do podcasts. We have to be on YouTube because that's where a lot of voters are. I don't know if you've seen the stat, but people that closely follow the news overwhelmingly voted for Kamala Harris last year. The people that don't follow it closely overwhelmingly voted for Trump. That to me says, hey, you're just not meeting voters where they're at. Literally, right? Like that doesn't mean, I don't think we need to change a whole bunch of policies. I mean, there are some I think we need to change, of course, but I think a lot of the reason there's this negative perception about Democrats is because most people's view of a Democrat doesn't come from a Democrat. It comes from what a Republican said about a Democrat.
Yes, you're so right. You're so right.
So I think about, we have WIBC is the local like news station downtown here in Indy, right? And in the morning, I think it's on the 9s, they do news and weather. So if you're driving into work and you want to see what the weather is, the local news, traffic, you tune in. Well, in between, they have complete conservative right-wing talk show hosts talk.
Ugh.
So it's to the point where like the average voter driving around here thinks this is neutral, right? This isn't even right-wing. This is neutral. How are we meeting that voter, right? Because if we're not giving them an alternative, can we really blame the voter for thinking that, for following that? Like, I really think the Republicans, look, they're good at this strategy stuff.
They've been so well organized and planned for at least the last 20 years. They really got their stuff together, and they do that thing where if you don't follow what we're doing, we will primary you and get you out. So they've only allowed the people that they can control to be at positions of power, whereas we are a larger group of people and we do not function that way. We don't say, you do what we say and here's the plan and everybody follows it. We're more, let's talk about the issues and let's debate and yeah, that's good, but it's also bad. And then so we don't have all these concrete plans like they do because we don't dictate our control like that. So that is a problem. Whereas I don't think anybody should be dictated. If I ever got power in one state house or whatever, I don't want to be bought. I don't want to be told. I'm going to do what I think is moral and the best for the people of Indiana. And so that's one issue. We're fighting against this well-organized plan. We're a whole bunch of different types of people, and we have to do that now. And that's what we're doing right now. We're organizing. I can talk to you even though you live 2 hours away from me. We can give people some ways to organize and strategize, but I feel like we need concrete plans set up in Indiana. Here's what we're going to do, and we need to get as many people on board and not be controlling and mean about it, but just be like, let's all work for this goal. Like, we have got to save public education in Indiana. We cannot afford this anymore. And this is a bipartisan issue. It is not a Democrat issue. 90% of Hoosier kids attend public school, and we are demolishing them at the state level. We have to work with Republicans, get them on board, and have a plan. How do we save education together? Like, I think that's one thing we should do. And I just think we should talk about the issues and make sure regular people that aren't hearing them on their news or not listening to the news know about them. That's one thing. Do you agree with that?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, look, a lot of these Republican politicians, and I really try to differentiate and say, like, our elected Republicans versus
Right, because there's
focused.
so many good Republicans in
Here's,
Indiana.
here's
Yeah.
the thing that I think probably everybody that's going to watch this or listen to this is they're having trouble squaring, right? There are a bunch of Republicans that voted for Trump, and he has said that he will do and has done some of the most heinous stuff, right? His entire campaign is basically built around attacking people. And yet there are people voting for him that we know are good people. They're our family, our friends, our neighbors, and there's a disconnect in our head. And I think that's one of the reasons that Democrats have struggled with messaging lately is some of us are finally like feeling like we're at a loss. Like, how is this guy winning? He's a horrible.
Yeah, I get that all the time when I meet voters. They say that to me.
But what people are missing is if you only consume right-wing media, you think Trump is the best person ever, and Democrats are bad people. Not just that they have policies that hurt the economy. No, they're bad people.
Yeah.
I think Trump being reelected had more to do with 50 years of right-wing media than it did with Trump.
Right.
There is a group of people. I can't tell you how often I'd knock on a door and someone say, I usually vote Republican. I hate Trump. I hate Braun. I can't stand any of them, but I can't vote Democrat. And you'd be
Yeah.
like, well, why? And you
Right.
talk to them, and every time it was something just not real. That's
Right.
not happening.
Right.
And it's tough because you're like, how do I deal with someone that's lying? Because it's like whack-a-mole. If you disprove that one, it'll just be the next one. And that's where I think we just have to grow our messaging and meet voters where they're at. Because I've learned this being a trial attorney. When the average human is given all the facts and required to choose between two things, they're actually really good at deciphering. The problem right now is a lot of voters aren't getting all the facts and then making a decision. They weren't presented with this and that, and they chose that. They were only presented with this, and they went with it, right? And if we don't give them that alternative, where are they going to find it?
Why would they vote? Why would they go vote?
I've said for the last 6 months, Democrats don't need 100,000 door knockers. We need 100 good podcasters, right? We need
Project Next Media. Hence why we're doing this. You're
I
exactly right.
I hope you guys. I hope Dana Black. I hope Who's Left.
Yeah, Scott Aaron Rodgers. Yep.
Which, by the way, man, does he not have like the best podcast voice ever? Like, yeah,
I know.
I hear him like jealous.
He gave me the best interview, and I listened to your interview with him, and that's how I learned about you was through that podcast, Who's Left. And Scott Aaron Rodgers is on our Project Next team.
Is he?
Yeah, he helps a lot. He did the background. He does a bunch of stuff. He puts our shows as podcasts. He does tons for us. So I did a show with him. You might like it. He actually lost his son a year ago.
Oh my God.
He had a special needs son that was in a wheelchair and needed a lot of assistance, and he got pneumonia. And one of the main ways Scott is grieving is by doing all he can to save Indiana. So we did a mental fitness show just about 2 or 3 weeks ago, and he told us the story, and we both just are wiping our eyes, and he's just telling it, and you see why he's such an exceptional person.
Yeah.
But I have so much love for my friend and his wife and his daughter. They've been through some stuff.
Yeah.
And but it shows why he's so exceptional. But yes, so I agree with you. We need this. We have a lot of it. Like, I see you on TikTok is probably the main place your videos come up. I learn a lot about issues from your messaging on social media. And I now have several different text messages where it's us people that we should really put you on some of them if you wanted to. I'm sure you're busy, but it's us people that are out there in social media trying to communicate the truth of what's happening to Indiana, and we're working together. And so I agree with you. This is one of the ways we fight this. A lot more people in Indiana do know about the issues now than they used to. Not everybody, not enough for like me to win state house, but it is working. It is helping. We can organize mostly for free now with social media, but it's just the other side has been doing it longer with a really good, smart plan. And so we're figuring it out and we're coming back, but it's like we're here and they're way, way up. And it's hard to catch up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the thing that actually makes me hopeful about this is how unpopular what the Republican Party is doing, right? Right now, they are at the peak of a 50-year media strategy and a 20-year gerrymandering strategy. And that got them presidentially 49.9% of the vote and 53 Senate seats.
Wow.
They've hit their cap. And that's with a flawlessly executed strategy. We, as Democrats, if we're going to be honest, have screwed up damn near everything in the last decade. And we're still, 47 of the Senate seats in the U.S. Congress. In Indiana, we're actually improving on our vote. I truly believe if people were actually given both choices overwhelmingly, actually, we know it. Go look through every
Yeah.
policy, right?
Yeah. Our policies are favorable by a lot.
Every time they have a ballot initiative or a referendum in any state, the Democrat side wins on that issue by
Right.
issue. We win. They've just done so good at messaging for years. So this is a 50-year plan, and they've now hit their peak. We just now started to figure this all out. I think one of the most important things that we've seen. Did you see Pete Buttigieg went on that bro podcast with that's how we get through, right? Like, I understand that makes some people uncomfortable because a lot of the stuff that guy says, and I can't remember his name, but
I know who you're talking about. I just heard him
he's
on a
kind of a
podcast.
jerk, right? Like, definitely some sexist stuff to him. But we can't just like ignore voters because of.
I saw that George Hernado went on Fox News. I don't know whether it was yesterday or 2 days ago. I think that's smart. George Hernado is primarying Andre Carson.
I've been on WIBC, that local radio I was talking about a couple of times. I'll
Good
go
job.
on any of them. I have no problem. Also, I'm a trial attorney. If I'm going to get twisted, then I'm not very good at my job.
Yeah,
So
you're
I should
very good at
about.
communicating. Me being a former teacher helps me. You're so great with communicating. You'll say in a video, you'll be done working out and you'll like be walking outside and you'll say, I'm going to tell you in, 1 or 2 minutes what this issue is, and you'll explain it. And then I'm like, oh, I get it now, because I didn't feel comfortable talking about it because I didn't understand it. Like, everybody follow Josh on social media. You're Lowry for Indiana.
Yes.
On most places, right?
Yep.
So
And there's no E in Lowry.
yeah, it's just
So like
low in RY. Yeah. And so you can find him on everything. He really helps us. I really appreciate that. Follow Josh. Look at what he's pushing out every day, or whenever he puts out a video, listen to it. It's just a couple minutes long, and you'll understand how to talk about these issues, because the other side's either not hearing about it or they're hearing incorrect things about it. And another thing we need to do is calm the emotions down. You're very good at that. We don't need to get heated when we talk to our neighbor and they maybe voted for Trump. They're being told Trump is their savior. They're being told Trump is great. They're not seeing the same messaging we are. We have to care about the voter, care about the neighbor, the human being, and just calmly explain, I think you've been lied to. Actually, it's this and this and this. And just and you don't need to use really big words or really confusing messaging to sound smart. You need to just say it. Say what it is, and that's what you do. You say what it is. That helps us learn about it, because what's happened in the state house is confusing. It's too long. It's too big of words. I don't understand. I need you guys to help teach me. I'm not a lawyer. And so when you all do that, then I can do it. And we just all need to work together. What are they doing? Now let's tell my group of friends, especially my Republican friends, especially my non-voting friends, and then I'm going to help them vote.
Yeah.
I know we can do this. I worry how bad Indiana is going to get before we stop them. I feel like you worry about that too. It's a real,
A lot.
yeah. We've stopped some of the most terrible things at the state house this session just by being very vocal. We stopped a few things. My own state senator Gary Byrne tried to take out consent a couple days ago from the sex ed education, and thankfully he stopped doing that. And he couldn't say why he was doing it. He couldn't say his reasoning. He had no backup for why we shouldn't teach our children about
You know
consent.
what? Can we just like focus on that for 1 second? Because I think
Sure.
this is very important. Voters that vote for Byrne need to realize who they're voting for. It almost, to me, I mean, it matters that consent got put back in the definition. And for everyone, what we're talking about is in the human sexuality course or law. They were talking about what can be taught on human sexuality, and he wanted to remove the language about teaching about consent. For someone to do that, that means there was something in his head that said there's something controversial about consent. There is nothing controversial about consent.
It helps the everybody, the couple involved, it helps both of them protect them from, yeah.
Not only should someone, and I think like anyone that's being, look, I'm not going to sit here and act like there are people that know way more about this stuff than I do. But one of the things I've learned from being a foster parent is for a lot of people, advocating for themselves is very difficult, especially if you've had anything happen as a child when you spoke up about something. And I'm talking literally, this could be as a baby when you cry and you want to eat and your needs are not met.
Yep.
You are taught that speaking up does not work.
Yeah.
I mean, this is literally as
And you don't matter.
the
You
research
learn, oh, I
shows
don't
this,
matter.
that
Yeah.
the trauma affects kids like that early, right?
You're so right. Yep.
So now someone grows up, they're in a sexual situation, and they don't want to give consent. But what they've learned in their life is that what you say doesn't matter. That needs to be taught to people, that they have the right to consent, the ability to consent. But on top of that, the other person needs to understand, and I understand that it sounds crazy I even have to say this, but like we do. You have to have consent for every step of the way. How many times have we seen these, national stories about whether it's celebrity or football player or whatever, and there was some initial consent, but then it went beyond that, and they rely on that initial consent. No, like
every part of that, there needs to be
something.
a mutual agreement that
Yeah.
we both want to do this and feel safe. And it's so easy to teach that. It's not hard.
But something in Byrne's head said there's something controversial about that. That's absurd to me. What's controversial about that? Nothing.
I've been studying Gary Byrne for a while. He was a school board member. When he was a school board member for North Harrison, which all three of my kids attend, he tried to get books out of the library. He really wanted to get in the library and go through each book. And if there was anything about the pride community, if there was anything about sex, he wanted it taken out of the library. And I also think it might have to do with the pro-life group, because they pump out a lot of fake, false propaganda about pregnancy and about sex. And I think they might be dictating to him. Like, I know that there are people behind the scenes that give money to these politicians that are saying, do this thing. And I don't know whether he did it himself or he was told, but it's ridiculous. And once you realize it, you're like, why have we elected this man to be in charge of what our children are learning about? This is terrifying.
So that's the thing, is to me, it doesn't matter why he did it. It doesn't matter if it's a personal belief or it's because he was told he had to do it. The fact that he wanted the teaching of consent removed, that says a lot about him as a person. And this is where I think it gets hard sometimes for us to talk about these things, because it's like we said earlier, we know a bunch of these Republican voters. We know they're good people.
They would never want this.
They would never want this. But
No.
some of the people that get into office for them are just the most extreme of the extreme.
And that's why they focus on national. They don't want you looking at what they're doing. Don't worry, we'll take care of it. Everything's fine. Just keep voting straight party ticket Republican. Don't worry. And that's why they don't show up at events. And that's why they're not speaking. That's why you're the person you went up against stopped campaigning. It's bad for them to talk about their issues.
Yeah.
So they just don't talk about them and get elected. And we have to come back and be like, look at what they are doing. It would help us if they would campaign. It would help us if they'd say, if Gary Byrne would stand up and say, when I get to the state Senate, I'm going to try to take out consent for sex education. It would be great. But is he going to say it? No. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
just, it's mind blowing. And I know we can work together. We can do this. We're figuring it out. We're catching up. How long is it going to take? I don't know, but I'm going to do my part. I'm going to do everything I can every day to make sure more people in Indiana know what is happening to us. I see it working. Time will tell whether like I really want to see like a high voter turnout in a year and in a couple weeks here next May. I hope a bunch of Democrats come out. They have a bunch of great choices. They pick the candidates they believe in. And then we scare these extremists, and then they are not as terrible until we just keep fighting and we keep growing and we keep getting people to understand not to vote for the R or the D, but the person until we get there. I know we can. Otherwise, I'd be looking to move out of this state. And instead, I'm choosing to stay and fight. I know we can, but I'm telling people it's going to take a few years and we're going to need everybody's help.
Yeah.
So if people live in your area, anywhere across the country, you all can follow Josh. Josh Lowry is teaching us what's going on with extremist government, and that is happening nationally. We can also join in a caucus group. I did a show about caucuses and learning what that is and how, like the Latino caucus, the Labor caucus, the Young Democrats, the Women's caucus, these people have power and can help stop some of the bad things. I just want everybody listening to know, get out in your community, find an area you care about, get more involved, and educate as many people around you as possible. That is how we stop this. I'm so thankful for what you're doing. I'm so thankful we're talking. I don't think you realize that you've taught me a lot. Did you know that you taught me a lot these last few years since you've been on social media?
No, because I think, I don't know. There's a lot of in Democrats, we tend to have a lot of the imposter syndrome. You know what I mean? That honestly probably stopped me from speaking out sooner, of thinking, well, why me? Somebody else knows more than I do. And you're realizing, like, at some point you just speak out. Right. And if I'm wrong, I'll admit it. But
Me
like,
too. Sometimes we say things that we get wrong, and we just got to come out and say it. We don't know everything.
I practiced constitutional law for almost a decade. Like, I know most people when they're talking about constitutional rights. Now I know more than most of them. Right. But at the time when I started making these videos, I didn't. So I'm glad that it's helping to teach people, because this is a different, we can't look at this like this is the way we ran races in the 80s and 90s and all this stuff, where voters were consuming the same information, making a decision. We now have a group of politicians and TV analysts that will lie to people, and we have to adjust. So it's going to require, we have to be able to break things down, simplify it, but we got to do it quick. The average person decides if they're going to watch the rest of a video within the first 3 seconds.
Yep.
That's why I tell anybody, and I'm not saying like I've mastered this, right? Like, I've had a few.
You're doing a very good job.
Hundreds of thousands of views, but I'm
proud of you.
I'm not a huge name, right? But when I do have success, I've tried to emphasize to people, if you make a video, you start off immediately within the first 3 seconds, you have to say what it's about.
Yes.
There is a gentleman, and I don't know if he wants his name dropped, so I won't, but I have a friend that's taught me so much about communications, right? Like, I'm not bothered by speaking publicly. I'm an attorney, right?
Right. Yeah.
But I had to learn the structure, like the idea of you tell
Hmm.
them what you're going to say and you say what you want to say, and then you tell them what you said.
You do it very well.
Well, and that's because I've worked with someone,
Yeah,
right?
that's nice.
But if we're going to catch people's attention and explain to them that, hey, they're lying to you, we have to be able to do it efficiently and we have to do it quick. That's why I'll be honest, I really think Pete Buttigieg is going to be the Democratic nominee in
He is
2028.
he's the best at communicating hard messages simply. He is the best. The stuff he pumped out yesterday that both of you and I saw, incredible. Like he showed a whole life. I heard one clip where he just explained a whole person's life and how every area of government can make it better or worse, and he wants to make it better and these people want to make it worse.
That
Was
clip
genius.
was less than 90 seconds long.
Genius. And clearly he practiced it. You know, he thought it out. He is so good at that. I agree with you. I hope he is our presidential. I hope he runs for president. I know that people were talking about him running for Senate in Michigan, and I've heard he's not doing that. I hope that he runs for president. I think being Secretary of Transportation helped, and he was great at that. I learned a lot about transportation law through him that I had no idea about just because I watched his little Instagram stuff. Yeah.
He's great. I think anybody that's seen him and then seen me can see where I try to model what I do after him. The difference is he just way smarter than I am.
You
Like,
know,
and I'm not a
something
dumb person, but man, he is brilliant.
You're very smart. Something that we could do, possibly, we could use my software, my stuff, is we could put on some trainings for how to do videos, and we could get people on that want to do messaging, because you have figured out the Pete Buttigieg way, and you are saying it about Indiana. Pete's saying it about national. So we need good communicators. So I would love to help you with that. I would like to help find, because I've been messaging with a lot of creators, content creators. So if
Mm.
we got on a call and you kind of led us with what to do, I think that would really help us. This is how we're going to save our state. We're going to have to organize, teach, train, and then they go out, organize, teach, train, and we just keep going until the primary, which is only a year away. And you know, we can stop some of this bad stuff if we do our part and just do it smarter. You know, instead of all of us going out on our own, we got to join forces and really get things out, pump messages out. I know I wanted to pump out messages. I wanted to get so organized that I call out the algorithm for promoting fear and hate and division. They
Mm.
profit off of our fears. You know, MSNBC is pumping out hate messages, Fox News, Newsmax, they're pumping out hate messages about the other side, and it's getting us to fear the other side. I know during the pandemic, I was scared of my neighbors. I had to climb out of that brainwashing manipulation on the left that was happening to me. And now that I go out and talk to people, and most of the people I talk to are either Republican or not voting, I see that that's not true, that I have been lied to by the left. And so if we collectively work together, I think we can help. But I honestly just want to call out the algorithm. I don't appreciate that people are tweaking things so that fear makes them more money. So they promote people's fear messages. I think you do a really good job yourself of not going after voters. You just are going after the bad policies, and you're upset about the bad policies. And I try to do that too, but it's hard to differentiate and not go after the people that voted for the bad policies. They probably didn't realize they were voting for them. That's the big problem.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, if you're going to do this line of, I don't want to say work because it's all volunteer stuff.
It's all volunteer. I've made no money doing this so far.
You have to have some optimism that if people are given the right information, they will make the right choice. Because if I actually felt like the entire country really understood everything Trump said he was going to do, and everything Kamala said she was going to do, and still chose to go with Trump, I don't know that I'd still be able to keep going on, because I'd be like, oh, we can't do anything, right?
Yeah, and that's where so many people are. They think that.
But that's not what happened.
Right.
Anyone, if if you really want to get in the mind of some people, there's a excellent podcast called The Focus Group. It's hosted by Sarah Longwell, and I've listened to it for years because she does focus groups of different voters, and it's not a poll, it's not like reliable data, but it's interesting to hear voters talk about how they get this stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
And what Trump realized was, if I just say everything,
Yep.
people grasp onto the thing they want to hear.
Yep.
Right. So there were people that somehow thought he was not going to do tariffs and he was going to do tariffs, and people that thought he was, not going to deport everyone and going to deport everyone. It was
and
like,
he said, like, he's going to protect women. He's like, I'll protect women. You'll be safe with me. So they hear what they want to hear. They don't realize that's not true.
Yeah. And that's what I was what I was saying earlier, is that this is the first time we ever had to realize that we're going against someone that's willing to lie.
Yeah. It's so much harder.
And so we do have to get out there, and we can't let our cynicism overtake us, because I'm sure you're like me. Sometimes you just want to, what is wrong with you people? Right? That's not a productive message. We need to talk to people and meet them where they're at, because that's what Trump did. We may hate it, but that's what he did when he went on all those podcasts, when he went on YouTube. If anybody remembers, when he ran for president in 2016, he would call every single news station.
And we don't like to give that man credit, but he's charismatic, and he tells people what they want to hear, and he seems very honest. Sometimes I think he does believe the things that he says. Like, he does it so well. He really sounds convincing when he says, women, I will protect you. I think he thinks he will. And we have to be like, but we've lost our right to health care, and he's not doing anything to help us get it back. If we just passed a law, we could do it right now. We could pass it through the House and the Senate, and he could sign it, and women could be protected again, and he's not. And so, yeah, you're exactly right. We have to get out there and talk to people, and we have to do it in a way that's not emotional. We cannot yell at people. And I get really disgusted with the hate online, the trolls. Some of those people are bots. They're not even real people out there stirring up crap so that we fight with them online. Treva Hodges, I think she said it after our show. She's the mayor of Charlestown. She's like so amazing. She said when people say something to her online and it seems mean, she doesn't answer it as mean. She answers it like it's a real valid question. And a lot of times it is. We just infer it's mean. That's part of the problem. We're inferring, we're taking things personal when they're saying, well, what about this and this? And then we just yell back at them. It's like, no, answer their question in a nice, informative way. At least half the time, they're not really being trolls. That's part of the problem. The trolling and the emotion and the meanness and the name calling. And then also realizing it's not like that in the real world. I actually met campaigning someone that I had to block on Facebook because they kept hurting my feelings. And we had a great conversation. He's an older man that's a veteran, and he apologized. And then I unblocked him, and then he started doing it again. And I just said, hey, you're hurting my feelings here. And he goes, I went back and read my comments and I deleted all of them but this one. And I was like, it's hard, but we have to realize who they are online and who they are in real life is not always the same.
Yeah, so I think you and I are a little different on that one. I will clap back when I feel like it's productive.
Yeah,
I don't feel like arguing with someone in the comments just for the sake of doing it is worth anything. I have had some videos that have gotten, hundreds of thousands of views and thousands of comments. And sometimes I get in there and mix it up with the MAGA trolls, because there's actually research on this. When people are like in a cult or they're real conspiracy theorists, the way you break through is basically through shaming. And I know that sounds harsh. And I'm not talking about your average Republican voter right now, right? I'm talking about like your QAnon people that believe
the extreme
theories. Because if you try to argue with them factually, you're actually validating what they believe, because they're like, oh, you take me serious. So when people come to me with stuff that's absolutely conspiratorial, I do make fun of them sometimes because they need to understand they are ruining their own lives. They are creating anger and hatred about something that's not true. And that is actually some of the research shows that's the only way to break through to them.
That's fascinating. I don't feel safe as a woman. I don't
See,
feel safe
that's
as a
you know what?
woman saying that to a man online, and that's why I don't. But I'm glad you are. Like when you
So
tell me this, I'm like, way to go. I'm so glad you're doing this. But I'm just letting you know, I don't feel safe personally. I'm worried they might try to find me on the streets or something, even though that probably won't happen. I just have that fear.
so that's a really good point, and I'm actually glad you brought that up because we do have to realize when we're doing all of this and what we're saying, what we want our politicians to do, that at the end of the day, they're actual people, and we have to realize that our privilege isn't everyone else's privilege.
Right.
I noticed at the hands off rallies, it was a majority white, right? And the more I've talked to some people of different, ethnicities and races, there is a concern on some of their parts that they don't have the same protection that I do.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
If I get deported to El Salvador, it's very clearly a political thing, right? It's not born and raised in Indiana. There couldn't be.
Right, 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 right.
But if you're someone that is Latino or Hispanic, they can, there's a risk. I'm not saying they will do it. I actually don't think well, I don't know. We don't have to get into that. But my
I
point
know.
is this,
Yeah,
right?
I
Like
know.
I one of the most embarrassing moments like of my life, honestly, was I gave a presentation about knocking doors and canvassing. And I was talking about how great it was. I was like, nobody ever says anything mean to you. It's fine. And then afterwards, Dana Colbert got up there, who is a black woman, and said, now let me tell you what it's like for somebody else. And I just realized, like, oh my God. Like, of course I can get away with talking shit online and in person because nobody would say that to my face. I'm a large white man, right? There's, I drive a truck. You know what I mean? Like
Hmm.
stereotypically, people see me and they assume that I'm a Republican.
Hmm. And you are very likable. You look very likable and trusted in our culture,
But
you know?
people that have my privilege have to be willing to speak out
Yes.
because we don't have the same worries of repercussions that other people do.
So that's what I want to point that out to you. Even though you're like, oh, wow, I didn't think of that. I'm telling you, I'm thankful you're doing that. I'm so glad you feel safe enough. And I think you are safe to do that. I'm just letting you know I don't feel safe enough. I'm always incredibly nice to people, especially the ones that I realize have gone down a rabbit hole of conspiracy theories and think very wrong things. Sometimes, if I'm in person with them, I will very gently, kindly explain that that's not right. And sometimes I do that online if I know them a little bit, but the people I don't know, nope. Like I
Yeah.
don't feel safe. But I want you to. I would love it for you to do it.
Yeah.
So, for the white people going to these hands-off protests, thank you. Thank you for doing that. I would imagine most people that don't feel safe that want to come out are appreciative because that's how I feel with you talking to these people online. Um, and you can do trainings. You can train other white men, other people that have a certain level of protection, how to protect others because there are a ton of you. My husband is one. He's a white man. He cares about everybody. There's tons of them out there. My favorite sign at our hands off protest in Corden was my friend Dana's husband who had, if I'm a white guy out here holding this sign, there's some things wrong with the country. Something like that. And I was like, yeah, that's a great sign. We need these people because they are protected better, fighting for those that don't feel safe right now. And it's very confusing. Are they safe right now? I would say most of them are still safe right now, but we're hearing scary things happen in it, like Purdue and U of L, and we're hearing stories, and we're like, are people that have brown skin completely safe right now. I just read an article that ICE has opened up a they're using the prison in Clark County to hold people. So I'm like, are they safe? I don't know. We need to protect them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm sure in the authoritarian handbook, there's a reason for why they're doing this, right? Because numbers wise, it's the way they're going about it's not effective, right? They're not actually deporting that many people. I think what they're trying to do is create fear.
And they're doing a good job of it. People are scared.
Scare people from even
Fear is
coming
the
here in the
best
first
way to
place.
control people.
Yep.
We'll have to end soon because we've gone over an hour and I'm sure you're busy. I'd love to have you back on more, and I'd love to help if you are interested in training people that are big on social media how to get the messages out. Let me know if you're interested in that because I can help organize that. Because I'm starting to do it now with some other people like Kurt Mullet on Instagram. He has almost 100,000 followers on Instagram. He's working with us and trying to help us. And it's just stuff like that. And I don't always agree with everything Kurt does, but I see his point, and he's doing a bunch of good, and I'll work with him. I don't have to agree with everything he says to work with him. And I'm seeing that, and it's giving me hope. I will work with all these people. I'm going to be at an event tonight. If anybody wants to come, it's in Salem at the American Legion 41. Micah Beckwith is going to be at a different event. He's the keynote speaker at an event in Salem, and we're having a unity event to combat that. And it's going to be a bunch of different organizations for people that have never gotten involved or they're a little involved and want to get a little bit more involved in saving Indiana. Come to that. Doors open at 5:30 and it starts at 6. It's just going to be a bunch of different organizations if you want to start getting more involved here in Southern Indiana. So that's Salem. And then do you have anything coming up? Do you want to invite anybody to a meeting or anything? I
Yeah.
know we can follow you on social media, Lowry for Indiana.
Yep. Lowry for Indiana. If follow the Hamilton County Democrats, we are focused a lot on the state issues that we've been talking about. Feel free to donate. We're going to get our full-time office later this year, hopefully, if we raise enough. And that's the Hamilton County Democrats of Indiana. We've had some people accidentally donating to the Hamilton County Democrats of Ohio.
I hope they're
I
using that
appreciate
money.
supporting Democrats wherever.
But you guys, this is a particularly great one to help because you all are so close.
Yeah.
This next election, you all could get some more seats and have some actual real power. Yeah. And I really appreciate all that you're doing for public education. I just want to thank you for that. That's one of the main things I'm concerned about, saving our schools. I live in a rural area. We don't have good other options. Public schools are the best schools here. We should stop defunding them and actually help them. And I'm upset that our local elected officials do all they can to defund our schools, and people don't come up and say, like, I wish you wouldn't defund our school. They don't go up to these people and tell them, and I wish they would nicely. I don't want them getting yelled at, but just nicely say, please stop defunding my kids' schools, my grandkids' schools. I think if we put more local pressure on them, maybe it would help stop some of the worst until we can vote better people in.
Yeah, because if we're being honest, sometimes I start to wonder, maybe these elected Republicans aren't being as evil as we think because they keep getting reelected, right? And so maybe there's just a simple thought of they are honestly saying, well, if the voters clearly like this, so I'm going to keep doing it, right?
So, I agree with you. And I think, like, when I saw Karen Engelman at like one event and we both spoke for 2 minutes, I really realized, oh, she believes the money should follow the child. School choice vouchers are great. These help kids. She really believes what they are telling her. And I don't think she's on this evil plan to defund our schools. And once I realized that, I was like, I wish I could just talk to her. I mean, she's probably scared of me. I'm not going to yell at her. I just want to speak with her and just kind of show her what this is actually doing, because she is being lied to. And you're so spot on. Not all of these Republican elected officials, I think, are completely evil people. I think they've just been lied to, just like a lot of the voters have been lied to, which is fascinating to me to realize.
Yeah. Everybody, and then I won't keep leading you to the next question because we'll go on forever. But There's a book, Rachel Bittercoffer, Hit 'em Where It Hurts. And she has a whole chapter in there where she explains what happens is some rich guy comes up with some reason he wants money in his pocket. And then they send it to these Republican leaning Heritage Foundation, these think
Yep.
tanks that come up with a justification
Yep.
that's not about the financial benefit to this person. And then it trickles down through the news, the right-wing media, and eventually gets to that politician. That individual politician may not be evil. It did start from an evil place.
Yep.
Like
Yep.
there is, and I know that makes me sound conspiratorial, but like,
No, you're so right.
Every time this goes back to some rich guy that was like, how can I get even richer? And then we end up with what's going on in our school boards and everything.
OpenSecrets.org, you can prove exactly what just said. I tracked it down with my person. She gets paid by these certain groups. They send her the messaging that sounds good, even though it's based on an evil thing. She's hearing it. She gets paid, $1,000, $1,500, $500 for a campaign. And she's like, you got it. That sounds good. I'll believe that thing and vote that way. It's what you're saying is not conspiratorial. We have proven it. It can be proven.
Yep.
You said it very well. You should make a video on that. Because it's so true. And it's what I'm seeing when I'm meeting these Republican elected officials. I'm like, oh, I'm seeing what you just said. And us knowing that really helps us to stop it, Yeah. Okay, everybody. Thank you so much for staying with us. Thank you. I really wanted to get you on. I kept messaging you. I'm like, you don't know me, but please come on my show. So really happy that we got to talk. And on your bad days, just know I'm cheering you on. I'm so thankful. Your videos are helping thousands and thousands of people. Keep doing them. Everybody else, make your own stuff. Watch Josh's. You're reaching people he's not reaching. Watch how he does things and you just go for it. It's fun. It kind of feels good to get the truth out there. So it's a good mental health thing. But this is how we do this. We organize, we get on social media, we talk to all our friends and neighbors in the real life. And then we also get on social media and do everything we can. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for everything you're doing. Thanks for being the chair of your very important Hamilton County Democratic Party. Thanks for stepping up and doing that. It's an unpaid position. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of paperwork. It makes me feel good that you have that job. So thank you for doing that. And I think you are one of the main leaders in the state. That you are one of the main Democratic leaders in the state of Indiana. I put you up there with Destiny Wells. When you say stuff, it matters. People are following you. I hope you realize that. I hope you feel that, and I hope you keep leading us, because what you are doing is helping Indiana. You're helping my kids. You're helping my neighborhood, and a lot of love to you and your family. Just thank you. I hope you realize you are one of the main leaders in the Democratic Party fighting for us. So keep doing it. I can't wait to see you grow even bigger, because I know you are.
Well, thank you. I appreciate all of that. I really do.
Everybody have a fantastic day. Please share this episode. Oh, we got Facebook stars now. So if you want to help, I just started that yesterday. We have gotten very little money from Project Next, but we're using that money. We want to pay our content creators, and we want to get sponsored ads, so more people follow us. So we're on stars now. Subscribe to us on YouTube, please. Just look up Project Next, or you can type in Project Next Movement. And we're on TikTok and Instagram and Twitch, which I do not understand at all. So thanks, everybody. Have a wonderful day. And if you want to come out tonight and see me at 6 at Salem at the American Legion. And then if you're in Hamilton County, meet Josh in person. I've met you in person, but I didn't talk to you. You had like a bunch of people wanting to talk to you. So I was like, but I'll come talk to you in person next time. When we're at an event together. That'll be fun. So thanks for doing what you're doing. Have a great day, everybody. Thank you, Josh.
Thank you.
Bye, everybody.